here, so before we get into some practicals, Steve was helping me out just a little bit on just saying, hey, give me one example for an area of ministry. So let's make this super practical where we are at ADS, so we're training for how to be a better disciple maker. It doesn't guarantee that you're going to have a ministry position, but I'm just saying some of us will. All right, so let's take Freedom Ministry, for example. Like you want to be a facilitator on Freedom Ministries under Taylor and her team. 7, kind of the executive team, and then there's about 25 to 30 facilitators who will help people in listening prayer and deliverance and etc. So it's going to be awesome. We're going to launch that this January. It's been in work in progress for a little over a year now. It's been really cool. So let's just say that you have a heart for it, right? You have, you have to remember the value or what you're going for in the box, and you got to discipline that thing. And so you're saying, okay, I have a heart for it. I want it now. I can't wait. I'm passionate. So you got the passion for it. You got the charisma, the charm. Like you're pretty good. You can talk. You can speak. You can pretty much do it. So does that qualify you? Keith, you're shaking your head no. Why? Most churches, that's all you need.
Yeah.
I mean,
You don't have Jesus.
Sure. I mean, yeah.
Like,
You might. You might have Jesus.
But in every one of those 3 things.
You actually might have Jesus in all 4 of those things. And that still would be a problem. And so, because here's the deal. You'll have, Jesus, like the reason you want to actually see people healed and set free. I know people that want that. I know people that can talk and they can talk about Jesus. I know people that actually have charm and they charisma. They can yell at Jesus. They have instant gratification. Sorry. Some people catch my little things there. Instant gratification, right? They believe, hey, I'm a child of God. I have identity. I need it now, right? However, some of those things, I might not put that person in, and now that person's dumbfounded, right? They're like, why not me? It all comes back to discipline, lifestyle, obedience. To what? You gotta have, here's my deal. You hear me talk about this all the time. I don't mess around with this first one. You have to have humility. I don't care if you can speak better than me, this person, that person. I don't think if you think you're the next Billy Graham, if you have 0 humility, you're done. You're not gonna get one chance. I cannot mess with that. It says God opposes the humble. Pride. God opposes the pride, gives grace to the humble. What that means is, why should I put you in, and so you're on staff or you're leading the ministry, and God's opposing you, and you're pride. That doesn't make sense to me at all. But still, there's a sense of pride. Now look, pride doesn't mean, and we always have these unique definitions for pride. It's like preoccupation with self. We say, all the, you know what I'm saying? Sometimes that doesn't even do justice. Can you spot out someone with pride? Just by discernment? I can't. And they don't even need to be talking about themselves all the time. Sometimes that's just obnoxious, that's immaturity. That doesn't necessarily mean you're disqualified or you're prideful. You might need to, curb the tongue or, something like that. It's a discipline issue. But what is it? What is humility? In that context, can you sense it? Does it mean they're quiet? They're very soft-spoken. They're very charming. This is why people love us or hate us. I'm telling you right now, this is a big issue. Because people have left our church because we basically said you can't have that. And they want it so bad, but yet sometimes it's hard to actually define it. It's hard to put words to it. What is it? What is it about a person that just attracts you to them because of their humility? What is it? It's just like, I want you on my team. I gotta have you. They're so valuable.
Very real.
They're real?
No, I like it. Somebody humble. Be real who they are.
Look, you want to know something crazy? I know people that are real, and they're not This is why this makes it so hard. What is it?
And they're completely submitted to God.
Yeah.
And one
And to,
another.
The authorities.
yeah, that's the make or break. That is the make or break. I'm telling you, man, I have met gifted people, charismatic people. I mean, you go down the line. There's job descriptions. I mean, on the internet, here, looking for the next youth pastor, 35 different job descriptions. I mean, it's amazing. But what is it? It's just, it's the way they just carry themselves. They're not bitter. They don't hold offenses. They're in. There's chemistry. There's relationship. There's flow. There's love for God, love for man, love for people that don't. I mean, it's sometimes humility for me. Humility and hunger are very hard to define. I just know when I see it. When you spend enough time in the presence of God, you get to know Jesus, the person of Jesus, and you get to learn the values of this. I mean, you're just enthralled. You're all in. You just can sniff out what is of God and what isn't of God.
Yeah.
It's called discernment, and we need it. We need more of it. That's what makes this so challenging. Man, God, give me wisdom. I mean, you need to pray for me. Give me wisdom, because I need it. Yeah. Any other comments on that one? I mean, do you know when you see it? It's just like Jesus. It's just like they're leaking Jesus, the presence of, there's a way. It doesn't mean they're quiet. It can mean, hey, we gotta get going. But, casting out a demon, you could be the most humble man on the planet. You could sit in a corner. With a
Like
fire.
Jessica, I think she's coming.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I've asked God for the most humble people around. We need humility. Upper echelon leadership. It has to happen. And I'm telling you, it's hard work behind the scenes. They'll tell you, ask anyone's after this. It's not easy being on our staff. Ask Ricky. Half the time he's probably being rebuked and loved and rebuked and loved. He's just all the time. We're together, just voice mailing back and forth. Hey, all sorts of stuff. Last night was before bed. I thought this was. We're working it out. It's like, yeah, you're right about that. Oh yeah, and he's giving me feedback, and I'm giving him feedback. It's just, and we go to bed happy. Wake up the next morning. Let's go. It's a submitted authority. It's a constant learning. It's practice. It's feedback. Practice feedback. And here's another one. Is it self-appointment? That's another key definition. Self-appointment is pride. I deserve it. I'm the prophet. Really? Who called you to that? I don't feel that. I'm the head guy in this church, and I don't sense that from you, so I don't know where you're getting that from. I'm not to say that I'm the final say on that. But at the end of the day, I hope the Lord would be speaking, and we can do it in relationship, and I'm not going to relate to you out of prophetess, and it's weird. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing that kind of church. It's just weird to me.
Yeah.
I'm more attracted to watching you love, sacrifice, humble, get to somebody's knees and pray for them, and believe for them, and lift them up and encourage them, and I know nothing about it. I may never hear about it, although things get back to me somehow. Do you see what I'm saying? It's why we do the things we do. It's motives. It's a big deal. Some stuff just comes to me later, and some stuff's in the middle. So, prayer and intimacy. How much time? That's why I said, when somebody asked me the other day, I want to start a youth ministry, and we've said that. Some people said, I also want to reach the LBGT community. Awesome, love it. But we're not here to provoke. So we go through we're going through the list. We're saying, are these people of humility? Do they honor others? Are they willing to learn? Are they willing to give feedback? All I need to have is one conversation with you. 30 minutes, and I'll find out if you're a person for this very quickly. It's not easy. It's not very hard for me. And then I realized, okay, I give some suggestions. If you have a heart for that ministry, if you really are leading it, I'll have to ask us how much prayer and intimacy are you going into it. And that will tell me all I need to know. Very simple. Normally, it's 0. It's a lot of articles being read. It's a lot of other stuff happening, but it's usually not much. And that tells me we're done. We're not doing it. But if you tell me if I've been praying into something for 2 years, I've been praying into this, I might actually give it some thought. Now, some of these people, so what I told this particular, because we are starting that as a ministry, but it's not a ministry. All that is, in the wisdom of the Lord at the time, I said, look, I think instead of starting your own ministry and provoking the culture, and that wouldn't be wise. You only have one stab at it as a church. It'd be more wise to put it under Freedom Ministries. And you'd be one of the 25 facilitators. So that way when somebody comes in and saying, hey, I'm struggling with pornography, we'll have some guy who had gotten free from it help you. Hey, I'm struggling with homosexuality. Hey, I know the person. Let me get back to you about 15, 20 minutes, and I'll get you the person that you need. That way we're not saying we have this ministry and it's going to provoke somebody. It's the wisdom of the Lord. We need wisdom. Did that person get offended? No. They're like, sweet, it's good. But if that person were to get offended, it would tell me something. That, oh, they just want a name, they want a ministry because it's more about them than it is about people. It's real easy. It's just real easy to find people's motives pretty quickly. You have no idea how many people want to start things around here. And some stuff's good, some stuff I think would be 4 or 5 years from now, and it'd be great. But so many people don't have good follow through. I'm really gifted in computers. Just graphics and all that kind of stuff. Just whatever you call it. Help me out. Graphic design. Okay. So if I'm really good at that. That's great. Well, help the church. How can you help the church? I don't know how to do that. I kind of want to teach. Help the church in what you're gifted at, and then maybe as you're faithful and the church is blessed. And more people come in the house. Maybe there'll be enough people that you brought in because of your graphic design, your creativity, your faithfulness, and then you can actually teach them today. There's just a way in which things work, right? And so we want to be faithful for what we've been given. You might have a prophetic gift, you might have a teaching gift, and along with just a very practical, hey, I want to help. Because that's important to the heart of God. There's something so. When Nicole and I were serving in Antioch and serving in other churches, we were talking about just the other night. There's such busybodies today. The culture is just so busybodies that we would just love being with the family of God. We wouldn't miss it for anything. We wouldn't. We love being with the church in college. It was so much fun. I wouldn't miss it for anything. If there's something else or work or an obligation or something like that, we would rather lose money and go to church because there was something. I just love the people of God and the things of God. And be careful with that. Sometimes God may call you to work and miss a life group once or something or whatever just to honor your boss, honor your workplace or whatever. You hear me out. There's a balance. But you know what? In that balance, submit to authority. Yeah. They may know something better than you do. I've lived a little longer than you guys in here. I've lived in my life, 18 years in Jesus. That's not very long for some of you guys. But at the same time, God's put me in the deal. I don't take that lightly. Yeah. And I want to help. I don't want to offend. I don't want to control. You guys know, the other day, when I got in the worship deal on Tuesday night, I don't have to do this. Okay, I walked right in there. I said, look, I called Hunter earlier. I said, hey man, what's on your heart? What's going on? I want to find out what you need me to do. And then later, when I got there, Ricky and I already prayed and Michelle already prayed for about 30 minutes. We got in. It was kind of a busy night. I knew that everybody was running around. I could call my mic and say, hey, come here. What would be a blessing for you? How can I serve this college ministry? What do you want me to say? How do you want me to do it? How do you want me to? Because I had my own thoughts. I had written some stuff down. But what would be a blessing? She's like, just be yourself. I don't have to ask her as a senior leader what to do. I can walk right in and do whatever I want to do. But That's not how we do this thing around here. I want it so bad to hear from God that night. I want people to be on their face before God. I want revival to happen. That's who we are as a people.
Amen.
This is who we are more than anything else. We are not hot shots. We're not coming in there and ruling the day. There's times we say something, there's times we say something, there's times we don't. But at the end of the day, we want God to speak. We want the right people in the right places. Because, there's times, I just made an example about a year ago when we did the college, we were there, where we did, I think Hunter might have been singing. All the more for me to get in there and be a hero. I didn't say a word that night. One word that night. I prayed for a couple people. I sat there and people were going, what, you're going to say? No. I felt like the Lord didn't want me to do it. I'm not trying to prove something. I'm just trying to say, we got to hear God. This is our lives. I want feedback. Hey, how did you think that went? What did you think that? I need encouragement. I need feedback. I need reviews. I need that stuff. I submit to you guys. I'm submitted to you guys. You know that? But all the while we're submitted to one another, really. This is how it works. This is how the kingdom works. It's a beautiful thing. It's rare. That's what it is. I'm telling you that right now. Because nobody asked me anything when I was a youth pastor. That didn't happen. Because I was low on the totem pole. That's how some of those places work. That's how it works. But that's not how the kingdom works. All right. So, anybody else want to put? Does this make sense? All this stuff. Per team. Hey, I want to be in prayer team. I want to lead a prayer. Okay. So you want to go from prayer team to I want to lead on Friday night prayer. I want to host it. So what does that look like? This. Who's the prayer coordinator? Who's the main guy? Tim. You might want to submit to him. You might actually say, hey, I have some great ideas. Not come in there and try to prove that you're the best prayer coordinator so you can take his spot. I'm telling you, man, I don't know if it's because I've had all these experiences and been really hurt by the church and healed and all this thing, that I can kind of sniff that stuff out. You got the wrong guy if you think you're going to come to this church and do that kind of stuff here. I'm telling you, that's not. And people have left because they know they can't actually get to me. And that's not a prideful statement. It's just I'm messed up and I've had experiences and God's given me a sense of wisdom and discernment. People pray for me for that. We're not, because I care about this sheep of this church. And so there are times where, I know Nessa, you came up to me and said, hey, can I share a word? No. And if you didn't like that, and you did, you handled it well and it was all good. But that's happened to other people. Kristen, how many times did that happen? How many times did you hear no? How many times did you hear no? I've rejected you so many times. I can't even, if there's any person in this room that should have left, she should leave. And if she'd have left, she'd never met her husband. And if she didn't meet her husband, we were so blessed by her. Because she learned to submit. She learned to say, hey, okay. I remember in Mexico, she's following me around. She's like, can I please do the ADS? You were following me around. I said, wait, you were. I don't know if you remember that, but I just went to my room. I'm like, I just want to go to bed.
I remember that part, but.
Please, can I just do that? My heart's breaking. I'm like, man, I just don't think it's the right time. Now's the right time. That was 3 or 4 years ago. That was hard to hear. But I heard from the Lord. I knew it. And I had all the play. I was fear man. Our church was young, and you could have left and brought others with you. I understand that. And that hurt my heart as much as it hurt your heart. I don't like saying no, but I like saying no to my kids when it's like the discipline hurts me as much as it hurts you. Remember? It's going to hurt you more than all that. It's like, it does. It didn't give me any pleasure about it. No. All right, who's boss here? Are you kidding me? I don't have time for that. Not even. So when people do that little game stuff, forget it, man. I'm not playing games. I have to answer to God one day. I can't afford to play games. He's real. He knows every thought. Everything. Too many thoughts. I can't afford to have a stupid thought on purpose. Really, if we were being real about it. So, there's just the way then you got a word that just rocked her. Listen to Doolittle. She comes up and says, I don't know why you got I just sensed in the Lord. I was like, man, that is right on. Thank you. You have a right heart. I love your heart. I love your way you serve. That girl serves more people than the people I know. She serves. She lays down her life. You meet the criteria, practice feedback, call in her. It's powerful. She's pacing back and forth, praying. Hey, John, I'm praying for you. Hey, I got this dream. Boom, boom. There's relationship being built. It's powerful. I absolutely love and adore you. It's amazing. It's awesome. And people talk so highly about it. Every time listen to it. What's the deal with this girl? It's not, I mean, it's not like you're speaking to the crowds and the thousands and all these kinds of things. You're not just, but you're simple. There's something simple and reproducible about your life. You just say, hey, look, I want to be simple. I want to love people. I want to love God. I want to love people. I want to love the person in front of me. I'm joyfully small. I don't have to try to be bigger than I am. I don't have to try to prove something to anybody else. There's something so powerful about that. I mean, Lauren, you can go on out. How many times do you hear no? I mean, Jesus, you whiz. How many times do you have that weekend? I'm moving to Tampa. That's what I want to do. I'm telling you, if you move to Tampa, it would not be a good decision. Because you think you're in control of your life. You're just, hey man, I'm in control. I'm in the driver's seat. I can do whatever I want. No, I can do whatever you want. I'll find out in 20 years how they work. But we have to learn how to submit to authority and learn how to walk with humility and get feedback in our lives. I'm so thankful for that in my own life. I needed it. I still need it a lot. My kids give me feedback. We need that. Does that make sense? It's hard to put something on humility, but I just know when I see it. I just know when I see it. How many times have we talked on the phone? I mean, there's probably more people that hate me in this church that love me, I think. I say, hey, I'm serious. It's amazing how many times I'm like, wow, Lord, they're still here. It's amazing. I did it. It's just, it's you. It's I love.
I think a big point of that is just that when it comes down to the nitty-gritty, people see that they're still growing in it. Like, there's definitely, I think there's a handful of us in here who at one point or another considered seeing our way out.
Mm-hmm.
But if you just actually take a hard look at it, you're like, man, like, regardless of whether it be John or discipleship or just community, like, it's not any one particular thing, but you just see growth and develop. And that's what this church does. It challenges you to grow.
It's hard. Sometimes we've got to figure out where do we put our energy. And at the end of the day, we say this, that we got to go back to discipleship, speaking truth in love, and investment in lives. And I mean, I'm constantly just hearing that whisper from the Lord, just getting that guy's life. I mean, the other day, Nathan called me. He's got to leave, Columbia. He's dating Kathy and all that. I mean, there's a lot going on in his life. And we just got too busy, and we're not in a normal discipleship routine. I mean, he's got discipleship with his life group and all that, sexual leader. And I just like, man, I told him when I was in Waco, Revelation, I gotta get around your life. Let's start meeting up regularly for a season. It gives me great joy. I mean, it really does. I know something powerful is gonna happen, and it's not for the purpose of I gotta get around him so he does a good job in Columbia. No, not at all. I mean, I just want to get around Nathan for the purpose of getting around Nathan. Iron sharpening iron is powerful, and I have the freedom now to kind of do that because I'm not caught up in one life group, caught up in they're just leaders now, and so it's a great joy, honestly, for me to just be like, hey, I want to get around you, and I want to get around you, even though you're under leadership in college or leadership in young adults. And so, man, there's no greater joy than to see the children that you walk with grow up in God. I mean, it is mind-blowing, and what a joy, what a privilege it gives us. All right, well, okay, so we're done, unless you have any other questions. Are we good? Is there anything else you need to just get off your chest or about anything else? We only get, guys, there's only 4 more months left, and I think we're done. It's sad, in a way. You will regret it. You will miss it. I mean, not regret it. You will. You will miss it. Trust me. When May comes, it's like, oh man, it's like that externals will go away. You won't have that Sunday night anymore. You get your bag and you'll treat yourself. I mean, you'll have a couple weeks and you're like, man, I need that discipline back. And thank God we taught you over 9 months how to actually be a disciplined person. And that's why we give you these things. So we should honor and give them away to other people. But, so anything else on Q&A? Anything? No? Sometimes I feel like you're scared to ask, and then because then it'll go into 25 more minutes.
So how do you recognize a lack of humility in yourself, and then how do you approach God?
Me?
No, like in
Me?
general.
someone.
In
When
general,
somebody-
as someone, how would one?
I would.
Oh, 'cause I was gonna say that's a good
Yeah.
question.
Also that.
For me, it's been a confusing road sometimes, because sometimes I call what is humble pride, and when I call pride what is humble, if that makes sense. And somebody else has to come alongside me and say, you know, that's right, that's your calling, or that's boldness, that's not pride, you need to speak up, you know, or whatever. So in other people, how do I notice?
How do you
In myself.
recognize it?
Oh, in myself.
How
So,
would
like, if
someone
you-
recognize that in themselves?
And then.
How do I recognize that in myself?
Finding healing.
I really think it's the peace meter.
Yeah.
If I sense peace, I mean, if I don't sense peace, there are times where I said something like, the Lord's like, it wasn't bad. It wasn't cutting. It wasn't. Sometimes I kind of like have a wake up. I mean, there's been times where I wake up from a conversation that I recorded, boom, it hits me. Like I just hear myself saying it to them. I'm like, oh, man, that's probably a little too far. Just like that. And I just know But if I ignore that, it's pride.
Yeah.
It's just I mean, if I just ignore it because it feels too weird, I'd rather it hit me
Yeah.
and deal with it and talk about it.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'm wrong in that. Sometimes God's like, stop being so hard on yourself, man. Give yourself grace. But that's because I've chosen humility. He says, I'll lift you up in grace. I give grace to the humble. And so then I feel joy. If there's a lack of peace, I humble myself, get right with the Lord, and feel joy. It's just the process, all every day. So peace, I'd say, and the joy and peace meter is a big deal for me. Sometimes I feel it in my mind. Remember I said it this morning? With the mind, the feelings, like when I feel something in my head. Yeah, so like if my flush and the righteous anger is fine, but there's many of us don't have righteous anger, and so if you feel it, you're hot, and it's starting to roll up in your mind, and offense is starting to get in, you're starting to roll what they said over and over and over and over and over again. I'm like, how dare they? How do they manipulate leadership? All that stuff, how they living, all that. So it's all that stuff. That's pride. And you need to stop it quick. I mean, because that stuff will get into bitterness, and then you start talking about other people, and all that stuff. And then, of course, you should feel like a holy lack of peace, in that. Stop.
Yeah, that's how it is in me when I actually, like, the Holy Spirit will let me know. I would feel very uncomfortable, like, immediately, like, maybe 15 minutes after or half an hour after, it's like, oh, I did this wrong. I have to say I'm sorry, or, I approach whoever and I have to do it because it's something within me that I know back, and it's the Holy Spirit.
Let's just say I feel like I need to encourage. I feel like I have an insecure moment. I feel like I need to honor some, Jason in the room. So I give him encouragement, and I walk away. Man, that was so stupid. Why did I say that? That's not from the Lord. So that you might feel like, man, maybe that was prideful. I've seen people where there's a difference between false humility and not knowing you're humble.
Yeah.
The not knowing your, let me say it this way, the false humility is you're consciously aware the whole time, wow, that was awesome. You see how seriously, it's so messed up, isn't it? But the unawareness of humility, it sometimes can kind of come in a form of like self-confidence, insecurity with those thoughts of like, man, why did I say that? I wish I would have said this instead. And God's just like, man, you're bold. Way to go. That was awesome. We encourage somebody. The Bible says encourage. My word says encourage. But if you walk away and say, man, isn't that awesome, man? I just finally did. Just look at that. I hope everybody saw how amazing my encouragement is. See, they should probably see how prophetic I am. I hope John recognizes it, tells Tim, to tell somebody else about the prophetic team. It's amazing. I actually want to go to England next year because either that or go get. I mean, it's real. You're gonna laugh at me because it's kind of like a nervous laugh. It's like, yeah, I've had those thoughts. We've all had those thoughts. You understand the difference now? I mean, it's a discerning process.
So something I like, because for me it's really easy to go to the false humility side or like the humility side, because like I'll struggle with trying to be sane of like, I'm not gonna do too, so I don't get seen. So it's like kind of going back to the motives of like checking your heart and like asking God, like, God, am I doing this for man, for myself, or for you? Before doing it. And like when you do that, like if God's like, you're doing this for me, like then when you go pray for that person, it's out of a place of humility of like, I'm not doing this to
That's a
please this
good word.
person.
Man or myself or you? That's good, I like that. Myself or you. Yeah. Great. Is that hard, is that like obnoxious every time?
I mean, sometimes like, I don't know, it depends. Cause sometimes
That's a good thought process. I mean.
yeah. Cause then like, it's also sometimes humble to even grab someone else and be like, hey, can you, if like, you feel like you have a word for the church, like I have a trusted friend, like, hey, can you pray for me? Like, I'm supposed to share this word, like, you know, and like, sometimes it's humble to grab somebody else, even in that.
I think the greatest motivation is love and the kingdom for it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's sometimes easy to, because we need more people to do, give words, and I mean, I want that more, and I mean, sometimes it just, and I've watched it for so many years too, of just a healthy way of kind of doing that, where I've seen people, good words kind of being, for whatever reason, shot down. I mean, just the flow of ministry, it's like, hey, that works in this setting right now at the time, and you just gotta go with it. But you can even have the right motive and the right heart and love behind it, and it's just not the right timing. And that's okay.
That's right.
I've been on the other side of that too.
I also wanted to add really quickly. For me, I recognize my own pride most, like in context of community. Because have you ever like had a conversation with someone and they just ask you something simple, like, "How was your week?" And you start talking, and then you hear yourself, and you're like, "Oh, that was really prideful," because like out of the mouth, the heart speaks, or out of the heart, yeah. And so like just like as you're speaking with people, you can like hear yourself and like be able to recognize things as you're like, because I'm an external processor, and for other people that can come up a lot. And then the other thing is like, anytime there's offense, like that's where there's pride. And so it's easy to like get in bumps with like, friends or roommates or whatever, and like as you feeling offended, it's like that's a really big indicator of pride as well. So like for me, context of community is what brings out when I most recognize my pride, like in relationships with others, in conversations.
Yeah.
I also,
Just a rebuke.
Oh, yeah.
How do you take a rebuke?
Yeah, that's good. Oh, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it also depends on who's giving the rebuke.
Yes.
But if it's a close friend, like if you feel attacked, that's instantly pride.
Yeah, if you're defensive. If you're not
Defensive, or like me, I'm really quiet, and so I just shut down or internalize it, and instead of saying, okay, there's probably some truth here. Whether it's the same as true.
It's always served well, just to find out the truth, because there is a truth.
Yeah.
There's always elements, maybe 8%, 50%, maybe 1%. I'll take it.
Yeah.
I just.
Yeah, Steve, the next.
Are you?
Go ahead. Oh, go ahead.
About the documents, which is.
Oh, then hold this up, yeah, hold it. Here.
I love the Survivor. I watch Survivor a lot. And this question, I think, is really important as it relates to my watching this show. I watch the show because so few people have a perception of themselves that is accurate. They have this perception of themselves based on how they want to be perceived rather than who they actually are. And I think within a Christian community, what is so beneficial in all these D groups and all this friendship that's going on is, how do you see me? Do you see me as prideful? Someone who you think is going to level with you and say, oh, well, what? What do you think are character defects that I need to work on? And I think, because the heart is deceptive, and we want to think many times more highly of ourselves than we should.
Yeah, which is
So
like the opposite of the scripture.
Yeah, so into that, I asked Miriam a while back, how do you perceive me? Jeez. So you gotta be ready to take it.
How'd that one?
Not that one. No, she was honest with me. She loves me, but she told me.
We used to have this thing in work, kind of, but we used to have this thing called de-logging, and Youth ministry, the kids loved it, the students really loved it. It was like, just trying to be healthy, just like, hey, look, and before you try to take the speck out of somebody else's eye, don't hit anybody with your log, your own eye. So you just have to be like, say, look, what's helpful about that person? What do you like about that person? What's the encouragement? Then, not to the group kind of thing, but then just to one another, like you just kind of do de-logging, like take the log out of your eye, what needs to change. And that was always beneficial. It was interesting, offense would come up, and sometimes people would get angry and frustrated and probably some cry, but they were young. I mean, they were like 15, 16, 17, 18. But it was always helpful, like, because I want that. Like, sometimes we need to have that deal. So one of the things, why staff meeting was so helpful this time around. And right, Nick? I mean, we had this great feedback culture. We had Jessica write down all the things that people said that needed to change in us. Every person went around the room, so we got like everybody, everybody had something to say about that. But also, we would start off. I would say, all right, my greatest contribution to this church is, and I would write it down. We would nod and agree, okay. And then an area of weakness is, and I would say it. And then everybody go around the room. Each person would say something, greatest contribution, and sometimes a great feedback. Not exactly every person, but enough to get feedback. So I read that. She handed out a piece of paper to everybody, and we got to see. We're like, wow, because of the feedback culture, I was encouraged, and this is true. What was said about me, and also we all said emphatically, we all grew in the room. It was amazing, incredible. And we added, 6 new people to the staff since last year, so we're growing the staff, it was great. But then we also did that again. And then she wrote it out and she gave it to us. It was so powerful, feedback culture. And it was genuine, it really was. It was really cool to see. But you know what it was? It wasn't surprising. It wasn't necessarily like, if it is an absolute shock, sometimes that's what hurts the most, because why are we in this relationship this long now? You're telling me this. A lot of it was like I already knew it, or we were laughing about it, or it's like kind of recent. Does that make sense? When it's something like, all right, now, you hate those evaluations with your workplace, right? I mean, where they just lay the bomb on you. It's like, well, why didn't you tell me earlier?
Yeah.
It's not good culture. That's not the culture of Jesus. He told you right away.
Yeah.
He said, look, you will deny me, right? You'll deny me. You will deny me. I mean, wait till later. See, you denied me. There was a warning. He protected our hearts. And we need to do the same. You gotta be careful about giving feedback sometimes your feedback is meant to stab somebody. It's like, finally, we hate feedback culture. We're just doing what the Bible says. Motive's not right, right? You just wanna, you somewhat kind of wanna injure them. Because you may not like them, or you're jealous of them, or whatever. That's not okay. Wow, there's a lot that we talked about. Good. Okay. We good?
Yes.
Next week is, what's next week?
Saturday class.
Saturday class.
Saturday class.